The universe has such an amazing way of weaving people in and out of our lives. I first learned of Dan the Music Man when one of the people caring for my children in an after-school program passed me a CD of his. I fell in love with the activity-based approach and the creative potential that I could bring back to my dance classes and my theme-based programming. Fast forward to writing my first children's book and requiring the right music for the project because I couldn't find anything that fit right. And I reached out to Dan and I talked about what would be possible to create a recording of the music. A day in his studio to do recording of my own for the project and his incredible talents to take my lyrics into action, I had a CD. Unbelievable. It was a real dream come true, and Dan has continued to weave in and out of my classes through music as well as concerts. His one-man show delighted audience in our town of Cochrane, and we recorded videos of the songs that have been seen by thousands of viewers. What is at the heart of this amazing songwriter and performer? Today, we get to hear about the man himself, how he's created the music for thousands of school children, and how he's been able to share that love and joy of music with teachers, choreographers, in dance studios, recreational programs. He's all over the schools in Ontario and beyond, and I'm so excited to have him here. You're listening to Season 1, Episode 17, The Power of Children's Music with Dan the Music Man, Dan Devion. Hi, Dan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Michelle. Great to see you. Thank you. Wonderful to be here.
So you have a little clip ready to go that we can share from the time that we were at the Burt Church Theatre in Airdrie, and the dancers from Dance Debut were able to be up on stage performing with you. Do you want to hit that clip?
Sure, here we go. This was the kind of crazy things we were doing. It was a ton of fun.
We're going up the clock, everybody. Hickory dock, Stacey ran up the clock. The clock struck one, Stacey did run. Hickory dock. Hickory dock. Jacob ran up the clock. The clock struck two, Jacob stamped with his shoe. Hickory dock. Hickory dock. Peter ran up the clock. The clock struck three, Peter shouted, yippee! Hickory dock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Hickory dock. Thank you very much. Okay.
And the crowd goes nuts. Well, that was a lot of fun, Michelle. There's a whole bunch of material that people should check out.
Absolutely. So you're at danthemusicman.com?
danthemusicman.com.
Perfect. And that little clip, we played around with how to bring in some of the nursery rhymes that children have. And I know you've played with lots of topics since then. To start a podcast off, I always like to start with a cup of tea, just to get everybody into the mindset of take a few moments and relax, listen to the stories. So what have you got prepared for yourself today?
Oh, a cup of tea. I'm a little bit more of a coffee drinker, Michelle.
I knew that was going to be your answer.
In fact, for Christmas, we even got an espresso machine this year. So we're a little bit of coffee drinkers, and I have with my incredible green screen effects that I use for all my online shows and everything. I got this freaky coffee mug that's kind of disappears in the background too.
I love it.
Cheers. Well,
all right. Well, I've got Don't Dull Your Sparkle because I knew we were going to have. We know where we're going today, which is lovely. It's always great. Always great. Okay.
I also have my wonderful. I have to be drinking water at all times, and I've got this really fun little water glass. It's like a bit of a show at the same time.
See, we're
There we
all
go.
kids at heart, right? I have
Oh, yeah.
those in my cupboard too.
I've been out of control for years. Yes.
I love it. So how did you end up, Dan, becoming a children's entertainer?
Oh, well, many moons ago, I was touring around mostly in bands, doing like as a young guy. Like I pretty much, I came out of high school during a period where there was no work, during a recession. And I was in love with the idea of being an international rock star, Michelle. So, we started these bands and in my friend group, I was the only one working. Everybody else was, couldn't get a job. So it actually turned out to be sort of, at the time, the best, the path of least resistance. And I spent, we're in some very, very good bands, and but always with sort of an eye on, getting a record deal and taking it to the top level, I ended up in a band called Avenue Road. Here playing around Ontario, and we traveled across Canada, the east coast of the U.S., touristy places like Bermuda, St. Martin, all ski resorts and golf places, and we were having a riot. We were having a great time performing and writing our songs and trying to get that deal, And back in those days, myself and the drummer, a man by the name of Steve McNee, good friend, split the cost on this little thing called a Porta Studio, which was like a little portable recording studio. It had a mixing board, and you could record 4 tracks onto a cassette tape. I don't know if you ever saw any of these kind of things, and it was incredible at the time, and pretty crude by today's standards, but you could actually record some presentable music and express your ideas, as long as you could, come up with a decent song and sing it well enough to get it through, mostly in one take, because there wasn't really very good overdubbing. Or certainly, Michelle, this is way before auto-tune, shall we say. This was,
Yes.
what you heard, what you did is what you got, So we were writing and performing lots of songs in the band, but as it turned out, Michelle, some of my tunes were just too happy for the rock and roll world, I'd write these songs. And in fact, I had a musician friend later on who said the music on my first album, Make a Bridge, who is his own kids were big fans and played it endlessly, and he said it was so happy it made him depressed, But anyway, so back to the beginning of what would eventually become Dan the Music Man. It all started, believe it or not, I don't even know if I ever told you this story, but I was invited to a family friend's birthday party for their little kid, and I was friends with the family and loved the little kid. So for a gift, I decided to take one of these songs, these sort of happier songs that were suited to the club world. and I came up with this idea of inserting the child's name and names of the family members and things from the child's life into the song, like their favorite stuffy and they could learn their address, their phone number even, and stuff like that, and little messages from their grandparents and everything into this song, right? So it was a fun little idea, I thought. And so I go to this party and I play this song, and people go nuts, Michelle. Like the grandparents are crying. Like, what is happening? It was like an emotional roller coaster for everybody there. And so they, pretty well everyone at this party wanted me to make one of these for their kids and kids that they knew and everything. And so I was doing this, and I wasn't charging any money or anything. I was just doing this as a favor, and it was getting out of control. So because it took quite a bit of time to do each one, So I decided I'm going to charge money. I'm going to ask for money when I get these requests. I'm going to ask for some money, and just mainly hoping they would stop asking. You know what I mean? They didn't. They were willing to pay for these songs, So and then I was selling these songs, and I thought, geez, maybe this is a business idea, and people were encouraging me, you got to go big with this, So I decided to give it a go, So I got a booth at a children's focused trade show in sort of the gift industry here in Toronto. And, of course, my artistic abilities were way ahead of my business abilities, as they still are, Michelle,
Yeah,
But
that's what happens, right? Because you're good in one area, but you have to be good in everything.
that part of my brain is, not as developed for some reason. But so I needed some help, in these areas. So I decided I needed like a sign, for my booth and some printed materials and some order forms and things like that, So I got some help from a guy by the name of Joe Albert here in Toronto, who was in the, that business, in the sign business and the advertising world, Turned out to be a very creative guy. Actually, maybe I can show you this. This is something that Joe made for me, if I can get it to come on here. There, he made the sign, way
So
way
for
back.
those people who are listening on the podcast, Dan has the ability to just flip things onto the screen. So if you want to go to the YouTube channel, Michelle Greenwell's YouTube channel, you'll be able to see the things that he's posting up. But he did his logo there for Dan the Music Man.
Yeah, made by Joe, So anyway, he also loved the song, this little song that, and so I had to make them for his kids, and anyway, so I go off to do this trade show, It doesn't go so well, Michelle. My booth really looks kind of bare. I have like the one sign, and I've got some order forms that I have no video. I have, and people are they're just not getting it. They're just not getting the magic of what would happen with these students in a group of people when the child and everything, right? And to make it worse, there was a guy beside me selling snow cones. Like a little booth selling snow cones with a lineup, like to the end of the room, right? People buying a snow cone. Me, I can't, I'm charging $25 for this personalized song that would take me about an hour to do, and is so loved by the people that have experienced the whole thing. And people are saying, but I can buy a Michael Jackson CD for $15. What? I said, you're not getting it, so. Anyway, so I learned an important lesson that day, Michelle. Sell food. That's what I learned. Yeah, sell food. So it's something that people want now, but in that kind of, or be a little more organized, realistic, and patient, those were the lessons learned there. But anyway, so back to the story of how Dan the Music Man got going. So turns out Joe Albert also was a part-time magician. Right, and but more of a producer. Like he was the kind of guy that could, like you, Michelle. You are also a producer and capable of getting everybody organized, renting a theater, and putting on a show, and getting all the nuts and bolts put together. So he's more of a producer, and he was through his contacts ended up with the opportunity to produce a show for this another trade show kind of thing in Pickering, Ontario. And it was called The Children's Show. And it was, they had vendors that were everything to do with the kids' market, right? So they thought it'd be a great idea to have like a show, that would help attract people into the building. And so they'd be looking at all the... So he had heard the song, and he enjoyed this song that I'd done in the sort of kidsy world, and he thought, hey, do you want to take a go at this? They decided to have for the show that was going to have a magician and a puppeteer. Back to the puppeteer topic you're doing. They decided to have a song to begin the show, to get people on this, like a little theme song to bring people out on the stage. And, so he asked me if I would be interested in having a go at creating a song for their show, I said, sure. Got out my little Porta studio again, got working on it. And anyway, they loved it. They loved the song. And he played it for the organizers. And they said, we want this as a commercial. We're going to use this as a radio commercial. So this is going well. And next thing I know, I'm booked into a place called Chalet Recording Studio. Michelle, super big time. Like there's gold records on the wall of Rush and all the Canadian bands that were big at the time, and I'm going, this is more like it, so I'm in there recording this jingle, it's a radio jingle, and it turns out really well, and the organizers say, why don't for your show, why don't you get this guy in the show to play the song, like to start the show? Why just play a recording? Get this guy, so Joe calls me and says, they want you to be in the show. I say, what? Yeah, there's a bunch of kids, and it's a show, and we got a magician, and I said, I don't know how to do that, Joe. I had been playing in the adult world all this time up to now, and he said, come on, so they made me a little offer, and it sounded better than driving back and forth to Northern Ontario doing some of these club gigs, So I decided, okay, well, we'll give it a try, and anyway, so it's showtime, Michelle. So there we are. So it's time to go, and I walk out, and there's a big crowd. It's all kids and families, typical stuff that we've been doing for years now. But I'm terrified. I haven't been so out of my element since a talent show in high school or something. I'm terrified with the whole idea. But anyway, I just start playing this song, and the kids are, what kids are like. They just get into everything, right away. And the kids are dancing around. The parents are happy. Everyone likes my jokes. It just goes great. So that was really kind of the beginning, but it was just Dan Devion doing this, The other side of this was there was no Dan the Music Man yet, and the other part of this was the other acts on the show were great, So my first exposure to the world of, children's entertainment was kind of at a very high level. I didn't realize it, of course, But the puppeteer was a guy named John Pattison. He was a comedy ventriloquist. Now, John had worked with Jim Henson on Fraggle Rock and the Muppets, and he eventually went on to have his own show on the Comedy Network, which was the darker side of the puppet world. It's very funny, but it's for an adult audience, but he did lots of children's events. He also did the comedy world. He did stand-up in Yuck Yucks and the corporate world and everything. So he was amazing. And a magician by the name of Mike Carboni, who currently did a great job of working with the kids. A great kids, fantastic illusion magic show, that entertained of all ages. And currently he is very busy as he works in the corporate world now. He does a show where it's like a talk show, he's a talk show host, and he brings he starts with a little stand-up comedy at a corporate event somewhere, right, and brings the CEO up on the stage, and will interview them, make fun of them a little bit, give them opportunity to make fun of him, and talk about things related to the company in a very funny way, and he brings up a couple of other people, and he's anyway, so these guys, this is my first show I ever did, right? So this is fantastic. So we were there for 3-4 days. Over the period of time, we became friends, and we'd go backstage. I'd be playing the guitar, and John Pattison was interested in, he played guitar, but he wanted to be better, and he asked me if I'd be his guitar teacher. So we developed a long, friendship, and he would come to my house, and we would do guitar lessons, and the advantage of this was, in a number of ways, is while I'm giving him guitar lessons, he's giving me lessons on how to sort of get going in this new world of family entertainment that I was discovering, And he said, well, listen, Dan, you got to get some promo done, and you got to be calling some agents, and, just get your name out there and go do some showcases and that sort of thing. He was telling me sort of who to call and what to do, So I said, okay, so I started doing that, trying to get things going, and so I'm cold calling people, I'm going through, the phone book of that in this era, looking at booking agents, and so, and I talked to some relatively sane people who work as booking agents, but then I make this one cold call, and I end up, I'm on the phone, I don't realize it, but I'm on the phone with Doo-Doo, the international clown, who, Doo-Doo, the international clown, who you may actually know, whether you realize it or not, because this guy was the clown in a movie called Billy Madison, Adam Sandler. There's a scene where he falls off stilts. It's actually not him. It's actually another guy that I have gotten to know by the name of Circus Jonathan, who's actually this guy on stilts. But it's supposed to be Doo-Doo the Clown. He falls off the stilts, and then he's lying there on the ground. And actually, the scene is kind of mean because they're laughing. Adam Sandler's laughing at the fact that he fell off. But anyway, he was the kind of guy that could get himself in a movie, if you know what I mean. So. Yeah. He says, it was a funny scene, believe it or not. It was, and he's a very funny and great guy. Anyway, so it doesn't get much crazier than this. This guy, Shane, Doo-Doo the Clown, says, he happens to be at the Ontario Agricultural Society convention at the moment that I'm talking to him on the phone, right? Like the convention is happening. It happens every February. He says, "What are you doing right now?" I said, "What do you mean? Like right now?" It's like, "Right now." I said, "Get down here with your guitar." He says, "Well, I'll get you working in fairs all year, right now." It's like, okay, I guess I could be there in about an hour. So how do I find you? He says, "I'm a clown walking around the convention floor with a megaphone." So as it turned out, Michelle, it wasn't that hard to find him. I found him pretty well right away, So, I find Doo-Doo the Clown, and we're walking. It doesn't get crazier than this. We're walking around the convention floor of the Ontario Agricultural Society convention, and he says, "Oh yeah, you. What's your name?" I said, "Dan Devion." He says, "No good. Dan the Music Man. Let's go." So believe it or not, that's how Dan the Music Man. It was just like that, So all of a sudden, I'm Dan the Music Man, and we're walking around. Here I am with this guy, and we're playing songs, and he's handing out cards. And guess what? I got some work.
Amazing.
So that was kind of the beginning of how I got into the thing through a number of basically meeting people and just taking a chance,
Providing, yep. Yeah.
Taking a chance, going, yeah, well, I guess I'll go down there. Why not? I could have not gone down there. Yeah. So 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration, as it turns out.
Oh my gosh. When I think about when kids graduate from high school and they're here's the path that you're on, here's the things that need to happen, and it's like there's no way you would be able to ever anticipate any of those pieces. And like you said, traveling the world as a rock star, and then transferring
wannabe,
right? But transferring over into something you never imagined, and
that's right.
It's so interesting.
But and the odd thing was, Michelle, it was incredibly natural. Like from the first, in that first show with Joe Albert and John and Mike, just worked. I'm not sure if everyone can do it. Maybe some people wouldn't be able to, but I went out there and just did what I thought would work, and guess what? It did. So you kind of, you can't be afraid to take a chance and try something, and it just might work.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So now that takes us over to writing the music for that, because that's not the same writing as you would be doing for adults. And so, what are some of your inspirations that you use in order to bring around the children's music?
Yeah, well, so pretty much, believe it or not, and I think you can probably relate to this from doing all your dance work and working with the kids in the studio, but I'd say most of it comes from the kids, just being with the kids and feeding off the energy and the experience of fairly early on. I was invited to teach a music program at a daycare. I was doing this. I think in my cold calling, I ended up, someone said, "Why don't you talk to this person? They might need somebody," So I ended up doing a little sort of a sing-song kind of thing in a daycare with kids from very young to up to school age, and that was really when the floodgates of song ideas started coming, right? Just being there, playing music and seeing what they react to, and they kind of write songs the songs kind of write themselves to a certain degree, like at least the idea, 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration, you get the idea, it just kind of happens, right? It comes from the playful, imaginative environment of children, discovering themselves and the world around them, just having the ability to listen and observe that journey, I guess, Like, for example, Back to Back was completely improvised on the spot, the song Back to Back, Face to Face, because the kids, they were doing this. I didn't even know it at the time, but it's a skipping game. Back to back, face to face, as the kids, the girls would when they're doing skipping, But they were doing it without the skipping rope, and they were playing this, and I just kind of set that to music, and then went from there, and put in more ways to physically participate to this sort of rhythm, Dance Freeze, honestly, was written as a way to get the kids to stop dancing and return, from the chaos that can break out in a room. So it was kind of utility, Make a Bridge was honestly about the journey of discovery for kids and kids at heart. I think it's very important for adults to not, really, when we're doing this, it's really for families to discover that magic that through their children's eyes. That's where I get the most satisfaction when I see that. You see it, all the time. You see the parents, and they kind of lose themselves, and they're kind of kids. They're allowing themselves to have a little fun. And Lucky Star, for example, was I was playing, and you could see one. There was one kid, and they just had this really pronounced little sparkle in their eye coming from the window or whatever. And I said, it's about Lucky Star is that little sparkle in everyone's eye that is a little representation of everyone's kind of inner uniqueness, beauty, specialness, right? So it just happens, and sitting around here in my little studio, I don't get as many ideas as, I could sit here for 3 hours and have less ideas than 5 minutes in a group of kids doing one of these music programs, or, and the music programs are a lot better than doing shows, because shows you're kind of, by the time you're doing a show, you're just playing the things that are working, right? Yes. And it's just kind of, you're on you might be 30 minutes, you might have 30 minutes, you might have 45, it's all kind of scripted a little bit, there's a little bit of improvising, but these programs with the kids are kind of you just let it happen, right?
Yeah. And you have the energy of the kids feeding back their interests and their ideas. It's always so delightful.
Yeah. So that's pretty much where the songs come from for me anyway,
So I know over the years you've seen many, many kids, lots of different opportunities. Are there a couple highlights that kind of stick out in your mind from some of the shows or even some of the interactions as you've been creating songs?
The things that I don't know about you, Michelle, but the things that I remember are usually the things that go wrong, not the things that go right. And they make the best stories. So you set out, you think you're doing like right from the beginning. So I did the Make a Bridge CD, and I got booked at this show, and this should have been a wonderful thing. I get booked at the Niagara Falls Winter Festival of Lights. And, I've been doing, these community kind of shows where you go and they might have a little stage and you might have 150 people, 200 people, that's pretty good, you have a little party with or you play in a school in the gym or whatever, right? So I get booked on this show, and I just think it's like a community event or something, right? And, I had no idea what it was. I show up to this show, right? I have the directions, and I pull in, and there's tractor trailers and all this, and so it turns out, Michelle, I'm on a show with, I was the opening act. They wanted a family act. They started the show, it's a family thing. They wanted a family performer, and then they have fireworks, and all the kids are supposed to go home. And then after me was Great Big Sea, It was Blue Rodeo. It was a woman named Michelle Wright. It was a big rock concert. I had no idea, Michelle. I didn't charge the money that I should have charged. I actually talked to the woman, and I actually called her back and said, I forgot to say, maybe I should have said $50 for gas, to drive to Niagara Falls. And she says, okay. I don't know if anyone realized I had no idea. So I pull up in my minivan, to this, and there's three guys. I got these three road, stage guys, helping me, right? And I'm passing, because it's made for tractor trailers, right? So I'm passing my, 7 things that I have on stage for usually when I do my show, up to this thing. And I'm on my way to do this show for, it was 50,000 people, Michelle.
Oh my God, no.
It was a rock concert, big lights, and people went crazy. They just got right into it, and they were all it was all kids out in the audience, and they had a good time, so that was,
wow.
That's definitely a memory, and and the wonderful thing was the sound company, they're called 3L Sound, and the guy, he started this really big league sound company that would do these large events, right? But I knew this guy from back in my early bands. It was a guy named Gino Lantini, right? And so he knew exactly what I was going through, right? he could see the panic in my eyes. He knew I'd never done anything like this big, and, he's going, Dan, calm down. It's going to be good. You're going to, he calmed me right down. And I just went out there and I just, did this show. And man, it was fantastic. What a fantastic experience. Of course, that was I've never done a show that big since, I don't know if anyone does in the, maybe the Wiggles, I don't even think they do. This was very big. But
I'm just curious what you opened with for that show. What song did you pick?
Make a Bridge.
Make a Bridge. Okay.
That's what I planned on. You know what I mean? There was no time to, honestly, Michelle, I got there maybe 40 minutes before I was on. There was no time to the guy, they had a time. You go for your sound check. So I had a little sound check, and it was in the winter. It was New Year's Eve, right? So they're blowing heat at you, but anyway, and the rest is all the crazy things that happen. Kids typically, I just love the things that come out of kids themselves. I remember I did the school, and this one little kid comes up and he's pulling on my shirt, and I look down and he says, "That was the best music I ever saw," and there's another time I was doing a show, and this one guy, the same sort of thing, you get the volunteers up on stage, and this one guy, he really wants my attention, right? And I made the mistake of giving him the mic, right? And he goes, "Your nose sure is hairy." It's hard to recover from that one. Yeah, so we just sort of went with it, and I said, well, I can't stop this, so I got to try to use it, right? So, you'd have a kid up and he's playing the tambourine, and I say, how long have you been playing the tambourine? And I whisper, say 6 years, he goes, 6 years. And I say, how old are you? He say, 5. so you got to use it, I think the best one was I filled in for a good friend. It was somebody running another music program, not the one that I normally do, and so I was, I filled it. It was kind of last minute, but a good friend, and they're very good, So they said, "Can you go and do this music program?" So I drive across the city, right, to this place. Never been there before, and I open the trunk of my car. My guitar isn't in there. That. What? You thought it was in there, but it's not. So I go in and I do this music program with, nothing. It's just me, right? So we did we sang, we did 30 minutes of singing. We did nursery rhymes in a rap style. We were rapping, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's where that song came from, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
Free form percussion with anything you can find in the room, like playing drums on the chairs, shaking keys and lots of jokes. We made lots of jokes and considerable silliness. And Michelle actually went pretty well. It was,
I've done the same teaching where I have left the music at home, or I have not charged the player, and there's no way to charge it once I get there. And the same experience, because all of a sudden the kids have to be the creative outlet instead of you sending that information to them. They're actually supporting everything that you're doing. And for me, it's like the organicness of what you said, right? What do the chairs sound like? What kind of echoes can we make in this room? How can we play on the window? It's just all these crazy things you would never consider doing.
You come up with new ideas, right? That's how to keep things fresh, to keep the wheels turning. I think the craziest thing that ever happened was once this poor guy named Nick, I won't say his last name because he's a good friend, and he was an agent, and he booked, it was like a company Christmas thing or something, a nice little show for one company. But so we show up at the show, and he got the weekend mixed up. Like it was the hall, there was another company in there, and this guy messed up, right? So anyway, so we're all the people on the show are in the Tim Horton next door, and anyway, it was just a scene. It was like a John Candy, Steve Martin type, like planes, trains, and automobiles kind of scene, because there's me dressed up completely in yellow. I look like a Brazilian soccer player or something. There's a clown with his wig off, sitting at like all mad, having a coffee at Tim Hortons, and there's Santa, so I'm just thinking so for other people, there's Nick, right, going, oh, I'm sorry, guys, like a wigless clown, a Santa, and this guy, with a guitar, yelling at this guy in a Tim Hortons. So I just would have loved to have been one of the other people going like, what's going on over there, So those are the kind of funny things, I don't know.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Why don't we take the story back to your family? Because, being a father and a husband and leading the life you are, which is you're on the road quite a bit, you're back and forth, you're gigging, you're writing music, you're creating pieces. How has your choice for doing this kind of job supported your family or provided, I'm not sure what supported might mean to you in that capacity, because I know what my kids say about the work that I do, but just with, they have to buy into what we're doing. So do you want to talk a bit about your family? And
yeah, well, actually the whole thing kind of began with family life for me, so it was kind of very natural. Like you start to, like when I did that first show, I didn't have kids, that was the beginning of it. And it started to develop over a couple of years, but you start to being in family life and being in a touring kind of rock and roll, playing at night all the time, 9 to 1 and, or later, getting home at 3 a.m. and then, now many people have managed to do, I have good friends that have been doing that that's all they've ever done, and they have successful family lives and everything is fine, but, I kind of like the idea of being around in the day and, I didn't want it to be at the expense of my family. So believe it or not, doing this, the hours are quite, it's kind of like when you go do playing a school is during school hours, and you're home at night, like a late show for kids is what, 7? You're certainly not playing at 1 a.m, like that'd be crazy. So that part of it, was attractive, like the hours were more, I could still be myself and express my art and be a family man, and be there for the kids, but as it worked out, the travels of Dan the Music Man became the center of many memories and stories in our family life, mainly because it's the kind of, like, how many people have a job where everyone can come? Like when I go to work, everyone can just come. There's no problem. My wife wants to come. She comes. She loves it. She comes. She loves traveling up to these various towns and festivals. And, I've played at, you name a potato or a vegetable, I've played at their festival. You know what I mean? Like, and we go off and do these things and have these nice little trips. And, but, they're, it's funny in the beginning when I met my wife Catherine, who is a librarian, but she works in the corporate sector, You know, like she was to work for, at the time she was working for a pharmaceutical company, you know. So she wasn't like in the public system where you might have more of an idea what a Dan the Music Man might actually do, you know. So she was asking me, so in your, she was curious, you know, like in your show, what do you have like a dance routine or anything? For some reason, Michelle, you see my show. It just made me laugh, you know. I said, you're just gonna have to come see it, you know. And I realized that I just kind of bounce around in the middle and everybody else is dancing, you know. I'm kind of like
inspire.
Yeah, it's kind of a focal point. All the visual chaos is pretty much around me, you know. So, but so the kids have always loved the traveling. They've all sung on the albums. You hear their voices on my albums. Those are the kids and their friends. You know, Nicholas and Irene, who are the oldest, did the most of that, right? The younger ones, I didn't do. When we had the great iTunes and Spotify takeover, I'm sure you noticed with Stacey on the keyboard, I stopped doing my own albums because there kind of wasn't any point, you know. I started doing other people's albums for a while, so the younger ones are just starting to sing now because I've just started doing more new music, you know. So I've got Danielle singing on the stuff, but over the years, I always played in their classrooms, so all their kids knew me as Dan the Music Man, you know, like, the kids have just grown up with it, you know. They haven't had the benefit of knowing anything else. I'm just their dad, you know, like, and that's what, you know, like when Danielle was younger, she would just very naturally, Michelle, just wander up on stage, you know, uninvited. All of a sudden, she's there. She's completely comfortable because. Me, you know, like she'd just go stand there. She'd put on some props, you know, and she'd start leading all the kids in the whatever the motions are, like quite naturally, you know, like. So just her life. You know, I remember when Caitlin was little, you know, like I once brought her to the stage. Maybe she was just a little bit too young for me to just. We were there with friends, right? Like there was someone to watch her, you know, because they're still kids. But anyway, she was sitting on a little blanket and she fell asleep in the middle of my show. Off she went, and all the kids were like dancing around her in a circle. And I said, "Oh my God!" I had to run out there. And so you know, they're quite relaxed with the whole thing to the point where, you know, and when in the summer times I would play like the resorts around Ontario, the little resort destinations, and so it would be like a little vacation every day. We would go and, you know, I do my set, but then we go swimming at the beach, go for a boat ride. You know, one funny story with Danielle was when she was very, you know, when the kids are little and they lose a tooth, right? It's like exciting because the tooth fairy's coming, you know, so their tooth would fall out and they'd go like, yay, or we would go, you know, Catherine and I would go, yay, your tooth fell out, tooth fairy's coming, right? So I'm up at this resort called the Delawana here in Ontario. And just before the show, Michelle, like, I mean, half an hour before the show, like a cap, you know, I had one of my teeth has a cap on it and the cap came off. So I go to Danielle. I said, "So I'm in horror. This is horrifying, right? I got to do this thing without a front tooth, you know." And I said, "Danielle, my tooth fell out." And she goes, "Yay!" So I found someone who had some little adhesive, and I managed to like wedge it on for long enough to get through the show. And I went to the dentist, but anyway, there's quite lots of. Caitlin loves going on the longer road trips, like it's 3 days or something, and staying in the hotels and eating all the restaurant food and all that. So we've had lots of fun over the years with it, and it's just not just the way it is, you know. Just like for you, like look at your kids. They're, you know, Mackenzie is still dancing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So he grew up with
now
it.
with his son. Picking up the stories that I told, doing the actions that he saw me do. Yeah, it's lovely to watch.
And McKaylee works with your husband, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and you do what you know, right? Well, unless you get pulled by the universe into something that you never thought you'd be doing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My goodness. So now we've had a lot over the last 2 years with the pandemic. And it's allowed you the opportunity to do some new creative pieces. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you have been working on?
Oh, yes. Well, first I'd like to talk about the pandemic, if I may, and then we'll get into that. Just a little, if you can bear with me for some commentary. I think we can all agree that for younger kids, I hope we've learned a few things here. Like, of course, everyone's doing their best. And, could I have done better? I doubt it, But I think we can all agree that online school was about the worst thing for younger children. Like anything online with kids should be high school at the soonest, and even then it's pretty terrible. And like the effects of it, I start to wonder, what is the most important thing in school for younger kids? Is it the curriculum knowledge that they're gaining, or is it just being with other kids? Because I think that we have really, it's going to be interesting how this all turns out, So I worry about that. Now for the adults, the pandemic, what has happened? We've become more and more divisive. We're being fed things by social media that are affected by what we already believe. We're not getting any fresh perspectives. There's no discussion. You're just, your own crazy ideas, and I have plenty of them. Trust me. Are just being reinforced to you. And what does society take away? Art, music, social community. That's what gets outlawed and taken away. And mental health took a major backseat to physical health. And I think we're now. I think if you look at the people in Ottawa, recently, I don't know what you want to call them. I'm not going to call them truckers because I don't think is in any way representative of truckers. Honestly, I think they just let's call them rioters. I think you're starting to see the effects of mental health problems, coming out in people that are perhaps not entirely stable to begin with. So what do we outlaw? We need to be exposed to fresh points of view. What about art, beauty, community? What? When you hear a song or you hear a story, you're taken somewhere that you were not expecting, right? And there may be an opportunity for you to look at things with a fresh perspective. Now, all that was outlawed, and now, I think that was a mistake. I think the health and mental health of a society is not defined solely by the absence of a particular disease. There's a lot more to it, and I hope that's what we've learned. And also one more peeve: the people on TV that were communicating all this bad news to us and trying to inspire us as to what to do. Why did they? Why did they not use all those out of work actors to get up and convey, and writers and actors and to communicate to the people all this, it was just like a droning bore of uninspiring noise, with no hope and no end in sight, and they really could have used the art community there, So anyway, were you asking about the new project that was conceived during the during the pandemic?
It's an interesting piece, right? Because I think sometimes if you're not in the arts world, then you don't know how to use the arts world for those kind of messaging systems. You're trying to get factual pieces of information out, or informational pieces, but you don't realize the gifts and the talents that are sitting there in the arts world that have already been diving into those concepts and bringing out ways of expressing.
Like there was, what unifies this country more than, say, sports? But what did they outlaw? And what brings people more joy than, singing together or something? Kids have not sung in a school for 2 years. There's been no music what will be the result of this? You know, like how will like the arts world be affected? You know, like when this generation comes up into what would have been their turn. You know, like so I hope we learn that lesson that we have to find a way. You know, like I tell you, Michelle, many shows that I do, especially in the summertime, you know, with people sitting on blankets and in their family groups, they're socially distanced anyway. You know, like there was no reason in the world to outlaw that. You know, and it would have brought people some joy and a little relief from all the negativity. And then meanwhile, you know, like I was in Niagara Falls just this past week on a family day. Thank goodness, God bless them for doing something, you know, and getting things going again. And it's opening up a little bit around here, you know, luckily. But, you know, I was kidding to the people that, wow, I haven't seen this many people since I was in Costco. or you know, the shopping mall. For some reason, that was okay. You know, like you'd have big crowds in there, but we're not allowed to get people together expressing a little art. You know, you could get, there's people doing grooming, but you couldn't go to a museum. You know, the museum was closed down for some reason, you know. And are people that close together in a museum? I think we could have handled it, you know, like, anyway, that's my peep. So, the new CD, the new project. So, it was a very interesting experience, Michelle, because I started doing some videos and things, you know, like I got my little green screen that's behind me here and got to work and learned about making videos. I use my phone. I don't have any fancy equipment. Like if I'm on my phone right now, you know, like as my camera. So I had no budget or anything, right? Because you know, they put us out of work for 2 years. Yeah. Like and I would like to see a little bit of sharing with the, you know, like these companies that did so well. Why don't they share a little bit with the people that were completely put out, you know, like, you know, deemed unnecessary or, you know, I think that would be worth taking a look. But anyway, the new project, it was very creative because I got into the visual world more than I ever have. You know, and the new CD project is called Glide to the Upside, and it's about the journey back. You know, like from this thing that we've been through, which was very troubling for the arts community in a big way, and I think very troubling for kids. I think kids were unfairly putting them out of school and putting them on the online environment for 6 hours a day was a horrible thing to do to children, and really there had to be another way. You know, there just had to be some way of integrating some bit of you know, physical togetherness. You know, and still I support. I know what they were doing. I'm triple vaxxed. I wear my mask everywhere I go. You know, like I support all that. But I mean, you know, there's health up here that needs to be, and there's the development of a human being, you know, that needs to be considered, right? So it was a little bit one-sided. Anyway, so the journey back, the journey back, finding the common ground, caring for, enjoying being with each other again, you know, laughing, singing, dancing, things that have been outlawed for 2 years, you know, like, you know, my goal always is to inspire and engage, you know, my young audience, and but this time it's going to be multimedia. Like I'm going to bring in the video aspects of things a lot more, and you know, as always, some catchy tunes, best I can come up with, but family friendly, not like the stuff you hear on the radio. You know, the lyrics are just getting worse. So like something that the parents can hopefully listen to with the kids without cringing. You know. Is worried about the next, you know, some of the language that comes out of these the songs on the popular. I love the music, but I mean, I don't really see the need for that language, honestly. But you know, I think you could convey your message in your song without it. But that's my feelings. Now, musically, I like the music of modern songs. So you know, I got some of that pop stuff, but I've also have some ethnic and roots sensibilities works in. The lyrics are stories, and we want to be captivating for the kids and the caregivers. You know, the people singing the songs are like dinosaurs and pirates and animals and a variety of characters to express friendship and human feelings and multi-generational relationships. I have a song for grandma and a song for grandpa on the album, you know. Lots of silliness, lots of conflict resolution ideas, acceptance, inclusion, big on environmental awareness this time around. And as always, self-acceptance, because I think that you gotta come to terms, you gotta come to peace with that thing that is you before you can really get out there and deal with the rest of things, right?
Wow.
I'm getting the kids from the ACE program are going to be singing on the album, so I'm bringing all that. We're synthesizing. It's the first album I'll be doing with. You haven't heard anything that's like I've been working with the producer again, Neil Danny. So this will be the first one done with a producer. I was fortunate enough to receive a little bit of money from the Ontario Arts Council. I would like to publicly thank the Ontario Arts Council for giving Dan Devion, Dan the Music Man, what was it called? A music creation project. I got a music creation project grant, and that allowed me to a little bit of a lifeline to write the songs. So I'd like to announce the songs are all written. Now I'm hoping to get maybe another grant so I can record them properly. If not, I'll just get that old Porta studio like it did in the old days, and we'll get it done one way or the other, Michelle. But so that's sort of what's happening there.
It's interesting because when you talked about your music before, the kids kind of created it with some of the things that came to you. But this time you were really thinking about the way the content was going to come together. And it's lovely how many components you've pieced in there, because I don't think adults probably realize what goes into creating for children, and also thinking about what do these children need in the next couple of years to bring them to the place where they have the skills that they would have had if they continued with their socializing. So
yeah, we need a little bit of healing, and we need a little bit of it's okay to have feelings and to acknowledge those feelings, and it's okay to express yourself, because I'm doing shows now, and there's kids who've never been to this. They've never seen it before, and now they're like 3.5. You know, like, and they're like, you know, they're freaked out. You know, like, so there's going to be an adjustment period. I did one, like you do these online things, and I did this. There's poor woman tried to book this birthday party. It was like a big one, a first birthday party for her little daughter, right? And it was going to be in a hall. It was going to be a big, like a wedding. You know, it was going to be a big. She was putting on this. She was so into it. She was going to have this big party, right? And then COVID, right? So, you know, and then the next year, still COVID. So we finally did the kid's birthday. She was 3 years old now, right? 3 years old, we did it online. And this woman was amazing. She made little, you know, sort of gift boxes, sort of, went to each person that was invited to the party, dropped off these with little musical instruments and a little piece of cake and all a bunch of things related to the party, right? And then, so we go to do this show, and everybody's on Zoom like this, right? Like, so all the people are, you know, they're all in different places, right? But the little girl, she'd never been to any kind of event. She'd never had a party in her life, right? With anyone other than her immediate family. Michelle, she was on the moon. Somehow the sense of community still, like, it didn't work for everyone, but for this kid, you know, she was like, hello, everybody.
Oh my God.
She was in a little dress, and she was a participant. She knew all the songs, like her mother had introduced her to all my songs, you know, and she was leading everybody, and I was going, this is unbelievable. This kid has never been with any of these people, you know, but she's still, there's this human, you know, thing that worked for her anyway. I don't know if it worked for everybody, because I know some kids didn't adjust well to the online, right? They'd kind of like, you know, I remember teachers telling me, like, you know, they saw a lot of the ceiling, and then they see little dolls coming out and play right over top of the iPad. They're not paying any attention to the class, but, you know.
Yeah, doing what they need to do.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan, this has been a wonderful conversation, and we weaved through a lot of interesting stories. I'm just so interested in how people get to where they are and what those paths lead them on. And I love how you you take the inspirations that come your way and you go with them. And one of the things when you're an entertainer, you know, we can have fear inside, like you were talking about, 50,000 people. But the other part of being an entertainer is you can't give into that fear. You have to face your fear and you have to walk through it, because there's an expectation of everybody who's waiting for you. And you're a great example of walking through that fear, find the way to make it happen and bring the next piece forward. And thank you so much for what you're doing for the community.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I was with the kids that I work with. They always say, "Oh, that was so lucky," or something, right? And I say, well, you know, yes, you know, this or that was lucky, but really, you know, what is luck? You know, and it's when opportunity meets preparation. You have to be ready for that when you get your chance. You know, like so, you have to have something to ready to go. So that's what you want to be doing in those in between times before the luck opportunity creates itself, right?
Yes. So yeah, and that's a great way to express it, because I don't think people realize that sometimes. You know, they get handed that different opportunity and they go, "I can't go over there." that's not where I was heading. And
yeah, you might be scared, but if you're prepared, you know, you got something to offer and give it your best try. You know, and it's not always going to work, and that's okay, right?
Yeah, exactly. Lovely. So I know you and I talked about a couple of clips to be able to share for people so they can know your music a little bit. Did you want to share a little bit from the new album first? Oh,
sure. Yeah, I'll play. These are demos, and I've done a few. You've heard a few. Do you have any requests to start, or which?
No, you just go. It's lovely, and I enjoyed the process too of being able to have heard some of these in their early stages to see how you layer the information and layer the pieces that give you your final product.
Here's one called Ukulele, because I just recently got a ukulele. Maybe I can show it to you.
So for those on the podcast, we've got this lovely backdrop behind Dan that's
here's my ukulele.
A whole set, and now he's got his ukulele out. It's just so great.
This is from a company called Honolua, which is actually, Michelle, this company's based in Calgary.
Oh, really?
It's made in China. Made in China, but designed in Calgary. Designed in Calgary.
And given a Hawaiian name. Okay.
Yeah. So this is pretty well the first thing I came up with when I started messing around. This little, I'll play just a minute of it and then I'll go on to something else, you know.
Okay.
Here's me experimenting with the. Hey. It's about being yourself, and that's okay. This whole song. What's the proof to a ukulele?
It's alright to shine, so bright to lose the stage fright and shake it, shine a light. The future's so bright, just out of sight. So reach out and take it. Just be you.
I just so miss being able to dance.
Let's be free to find the groove. Let's just move, 'cause what's too.
Okay, here's one, Michelle, about a pirate family. Even pirates have families. Here they go.
Arr! Ahoy, me mateys! Shiver me timbers! We sail across the seven seas because we're a pirate family. We've come to search for treasure and for gold.
Sure.
A pirate's life, the life for me, because we're a pirate family. We sail the seven seas and never get old. We chart the course, we swab the deck, compare and squat, what a pain in the neck. A pirate's life is the life for me. The captain holds the highest rank, forget that, and you walk the plank. We raise the sails on the sea. And it's yo ho ho, there she blows. We've come to search for treasure and for gold. And it's
To have my pirate hat on. I got one.
Singing a shanty as we go. We sail the seven seas and never get old. Arr, never gets old. You're only as old as you feel. You feel old. Off the deck. You're welcome. The captain and the first mate fell in love on their first date. The quartermaster.
Anyway, this one is perhaps the title song of the album. It's called Glide, and it's about those things I was talking about before, you know.
Well, I hit the ground running, I come ready to play. Gonna take all of our troubles, gonna find a better way to the upside. We're gonna glide. Everybody knows somebody seeing things a different way. Gonna meet you in the middle, gonna find a better way to the upside. We're gonna glide. Gonna glide.
Something nice and easy for the parent.
Now we're making time to listen side by side. Gonna glide to the forget and let it glide to the east, glide to the west. Ride with the ones that bring out your best. Gonna glide. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gonna glide.
There's a couple little tastes, you know.
Oh, it's lovely.
Stay tuned. Lots more coming.
I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to where you're going to take it and the gifts that you're going to be providing to families in the coming, I know, for the next couple of years. I mean, I know it's beyond that, but just what is really focused on and needed at this time. So yeah, it's delightful. Dan, thank you so much. And I think we were going to play a couple of clips of some of your traditional ones, so people can have a listen to that. And again, you can find Dan at danthemusicman.com and his YouTube channel. He's got his videos up there, lovely, and I have some of them up on my YouTube channel as well. So thank you, Dan, for a lovely conversation today. I so appreciate your time and your expertise and your gifts.
Thank you, Michelle, and always a pleasure to speak with you. I would offer on your show to interview you, because you have a full story to tell and many things to share. So I would. That's an open offer.
I'm going to take you season two. I'll have you back.
Season 2, we'll interview Michelle. Yeah. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Awesome.
So you wanted something the kids can dance to?
Yeah.
Can we do back to back?
Let's do it. That's the all-time favorite. Yep.
Back to back. This is when I got my little setup and started trying to do videos. This is the first one I did in this very room that I'm sitting in right now, and it was a little crazy. Maybe we'll go into this, and then we'll go into a little bit of dance freeze. Should we do a little dance freeze after that? Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here's back to back, face to face. Get up on your feet, everybody, and find a partner. Here we go.
Back to back, face to face. Shake your partner's hand and you change your place. Playing back to back, face to face. Shake your partner's hand and you change your place. Playing back to back and face to face. And shake your partner's hand and change your place. Put your hands up, put your hands down, put your hands back up and spin around. Put your hands up, put your hands down, put your hands back up and spin around. Put your hands up, put your hands down, put your hands back up and spin around. Back to back, face to face. Shake your partner's hand and you change your place. Playing back to back, face to face. Shake your partner's hand and you change your place. Playing back to back and face to face. And you shake your partner's hand and change your place. Give me 5 up high, give me 5 down low, give me 5 in the middle. Whoops, too slow. Give me 5 up high, give me 5 down low, give me 5 in the middle. Whoops, too slow. Give me 5 up high, give me 5 down low, give me 5 in the middle, and let's go. Back to back, face to face. Shake your partner's hand and you change your place. Playing back to back, face to face. Shake your partner's hand and you change your place. Playing back to back and face to face. And shake your partner's hand and change your place.
And here's a little dance freeze for anybody, which has not been difficult lately. All you had to do is go outside and dance, right, Michelle? If you wanted to do some dance freeze, but anyway, if you want to do it in the summer, here's an idea for you.
Especially this year, yes. Hot, cold,
Hi,
hot,
everybody.
cold.
Me, Dan the Music Man. I'm back. We're going to play a little game here. I need everybody to stand up on your feet. We're going to play Dance Freeze. I want everybody jumping up and down. Who can get the highest? A little higher. A little higher. This is how we play the game. You ready? When the music stops, you freeze in your spot. Everyone freezes, just like a statue. And then we're playing Dance Freeze. We're going again. And freeze.
Hey! Shabba, abba, lebba, shabba, hey, hey!
What time is it? Is it 1 o'clock? Is it 2 o'clock? Is it lunchtime? Is it breakfast? Is it time to sing? It's time to dance. Yahoo! We're playing Dance Freeze. Dance Freeze. Everybody's dancing. We're playing Dance Freeze. But when the music stops, you freeze in your spot. We're playing Dance Freeze. Do the twist. Dance Freeze. Oh, everybody's twisting. We're playing Dance Freeze. But when the music stops, you freeze in your spot. Oops. We're playing Dance Freeze. Dance Freeze. Everybody do the twist, do the tango, do the limbo too. Do that funky chicken, cause that dance is good for you. We're playing Dance Freeze. Dance Freeze. But when the music stops, you freeze in your spot. Wow! We're playing Dance Freeze. Do the swimmer dance. Dance Freeze. Freeze. Dance Freeze. Okay, let's see you do the funky chicken. Oh my goodness, that's a good one. How about the pogo dance? How high can you go? Oh, look out everyone. Freeze. Dance Freeze. We're playing Dance Freeze. But when the music stops, you freeze in your spot. We're playing Dance Freeze. Dance Freeze. Oh, freeze.
Give yourselves a big hand, you guys. Very nice. Very nice. There you go.
Oh, that's lovely. That's great. I enjoyed watching that last one. I enjoyed watching you actually performing, but the other piece that I really enjoyed was watching the parents who hadn't bought into play. They were
that's right,
standing with the arms crossed and I can't do this kind of stuff. And meanwhile, the kids are like just going at it. It's just...
Yeah, well, the parents, some of the parents do get involved, and then it spreads. So it does. Sometimes it takes a little time. That one is often earlier in the show, and they start to. You know how it goes. Like it starts to by the end of the show.
Yeah.
And this will get them going, Michelle. Here, I could play just a little bit of the Bubbles video because this was when I was getting a little bit tiny bit better at making the videos. I think it's a matter of opinion, of course, but this one was fun.
It's really fun, your visuals.
Bubbles come and bubbles go, or bubbles go, only bubbles know. Can you catch a bubble, don't let your bubble blow. Bubble baths are lots of fun and everyone likes bubble gum. Bubbles come and go. In a bubble car, I'm
Anyway.
Okay,
It was fun being inside a bubble.
I want that huge bubble wand. That's amazing. I think one of the best times with my son was when we made those giant bubbles. And we went all the way around the car with it. It was it was so cool. It was in Cochrane at that time, a dry place. It's hard to keep the bubble held up, but there was so much moisture from the rain that it just held the bubbles, and they floated up the street. And I love that.
That brings it
so much fun.
After all the last 2 years of being told to stay in your bubble. That brings new meaning to it.
It doesn't. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does. Absolutely. All right. We need to end there. Thank you so much, Dan. Great time. Thank you.
Thank you,
and
Michelle.
to those people that are listening, thank you so much for being here. This is Be Well with Michelle Greenwell, and I'm happy to have you. Take care.